Hello, I am still Michael Beck, and this is take two because I didn't press record the first time. So, but yeah, whether I've discussed this before or not, I guess it'll be a kind of refresher, and I'm sure that if I have brought this up in some way before, um, that I'm not going to discuss it in exactly the same way. But I've been still seeing these posts floating around online with a general sentiment that goes something like, maybe I'm depressed because the world is in bad shape, or maybe being depressed is a natural response to being aware of all the problems going on in the world. And I just feel that this is terribly problematic. And so while I acknowledge that there is little to nothing that I can do to stop these posts being propagated and ultimately um, changing other people's minds and perspectives, I thought that at least I could try to respond in this way. That is something that I can do, to try to focus on what I can't do. What I can do rather than what I can't do. Trying to sort of follow my own advice, but I guess sort of my general sentiment for this video will be: while the environment and/or trauma had a role to play in causing your depression, the external world will never come together and do the healing work for you. The world has never been particularly well off, and it is easy to look back and romanticize, especially if you never lived through it yourself. Every age has its problems, and it is our task to overcome them. Among other things, we are currently faced with the internet, which floods us with information, and social media, which tells you that everyone is better off than you are. It promises connection, but leaves most of us more distracted and socially disconnected. But that being said, if we blame our well being entirely on our environment will always be in control of our well being. We will always feel dependent on our external world rather than taking hold of our internal worlds and determining it for ourselves. There will always be things out of our control, but it is our role to take charge of what we can and to make something of our lives and our world as best as we are able. And we can only do it for ourselves. It is not easy, but it is worth it because there is no hope to be found in despair. Now, I generally do not like to make comparisons to say that someone else is better or to say that someone else is worse off than us, and therefore downplaying our struggles because someone else has it worse, or say that we are grateful because we can point to someone else who isn't as fortunate. It's still a comparison that measures ourselves in relation to others. However, if since we are kind of talking about the broader state of our world and the impact on us, and I think it's a bit of a universality there, um, and I guess I will make make some comparison here to make the argument that not everyone is simply depressed. The state of the world doesn't simply make us depressed and determine the overall state of our being, our well-being. Um, I I think of this interview that was done, I guess, as of this recording, 5 years ago now. I think it was done in 2020 during the heart of the pandemic, and it was an interview with comedian Sam Richardson, who is known for his work on "I Think You Should Leave" and Veep, and he shared his experience with racial prejudice with Conan O'Brien. And at one point, Sam says, "You talk about getting discouraged. I can't get discouraged. Black people have been going through this for 400 years here. We haven't been discouraged yet. So I say to my white friends, y'all can't either, end quote. And so um, I guess where my thinking goes to expound upon that, I just think about the women's rights movement and I think of the civil rights movement and just all the people involved in making positive change happen. Yes, there's still much work to be done and it is far from over, but today we are not where we were yesterday. Our efforts and the work that we do today matters for the positive change it could bring about tomorrow. And and look, this is kind of a bit of a side note, but I thought, worth kind of, yeah, putting in here, is that the reason why billion-dollar corporate studios produce movies about vigilantes and rebels who overthrow kings and tyrants and evil empires is because it seems that they know something. Um, and I speculate, and I have heard others speculate as well, that it is because they just know that change takes a great deal of resources and time. They know that most of us are too busy and distracted to put in the extra effort. It takes being inconvenienced and making sacrifices and not knowing if you'll ever see the payoff. Again, the people working in the civil rights movement were taking huge risks. And for 400 years and more, people have been beaten, imprisoned, and killed so that people could have greater freedom. And there have been countless struggles across nations and ethnic, ethnicities. Gosh. And while I won't be getting into neo imperialism here, the fact that colonialism as we know it no longer exists was a massive undertaking. And putting aside the argument of whether or not war is ever justified, the Allies did not come out on top at the end of World War II through foot soldiers alone. Victory would not have been possible without industry, infrastructure, and hardworking people going to factories to produce essential materials, without initiatives for a large collective group of people rationing resources. And in the case of something like Dunkirk, if you're familiar with that at all, there were people who gave up their yachts, their private boats to transport and deliver troops out of the hands of approaching German forces. They were in France, and Germany was approaching, and the only really option was to get them back over the British Channel and back into Britain. And if not for that sacrifice, the war could have been over then and there. So I think emotions and pain are information, and if we're hurt, we should feel it and listen to it. Um, what it's trying to tell us, but to let it move us to action and changing our situation, no matter how small the change, and not giving in and giving up. Let us consider the good work which is set before us to do. Let us rest on the strength and determination of those who came before us, who did not give up, and let us try to find joy where we are able. And so I'll end here with this final quote from Alice Walker, a writer who is most known for her book, The Color Purple. And in one interview, she says, "Why bother to suffer if you're not going to have a good time at some point?" And so yeah, I thought of that quote as I was writing and thinking about this. And so it's I forget about it, but when I do, it really sticks with me. It makes me think about how I should um, prioritize things because yeah, like what is the point if we're not going to have some moments here and there that we can enjoy, even if it is a simple thing? Is, for me, like, I mean, I'm a simple man with simple tastes. I like a pizza, um, even if it's just a frozen one. So once a week, I get myself a pizza and I have my pizza and I enjoy it. And it's small and it's simple, but it's something. So, that's just one example, and I don't know what it would look like for anyone else, but there's kind of the bigger picture and the long, timetable. And again, maybe we won't really see the extent of our efforts in our lifetime, but like what can we do in the meantime to make ourselves feel good and make the uncomfortable and the sacrifices worthwhile now. So yeah, I'm gonna end this video here, and so yeah, thank you as always for taking the time to consider these things with me. And until next time, please stay well and take care. All right, bye.